for joining us today. And for those watching, Vivienne is a patient currently living with long COVID. And today we're interviewing her to understand how Attomarker's long COVID tests support her journey. So let's just start things off by briefly introducing yourself and when you first started experiencing symptoms of long COVID and your journey.
Okay, I'm Vivienne. I probably had symptoms of long COVID from the back end of 2022, and then it sort of hit a peak about March 23, and that's when I went to the doctors and asked to be referred to a long COVID clinic, and that's when we realised that I did have long COVID. So we managed to put all the pieces together, and yeah, that's where I am.
So then, how did you first hear about our long COVID test, and what made you decide to take the test?
So a friend of mine is a medical professional, and he is aware of Attomarker. So I was saying all the problems I was having with long COVID, and there is really no help available. So you do start to run the risk of looking down anything. Googling is a wonderful thing, but obviously you don't know what's right, what's wrong, what's right for you.
Yeah.
So he suggested that I have my bloods done with Attomarker, so I was happy to do that, and that's how I came here to get my blood.
So can you describe your experience of the testing process? Was it a positive or maybe perhaps a negative? Or?
No, it was a positive. It was so easy. So it's literally just a finger prick test and send off your blood sample, which for me, I live quite close to here, so that was very easy. And then the results came back quite quickly, so
yes.
Yeah, very easy.
And how did these results from the long COVID tests that you took help you in understanding your condition a bit better?
It was a huge game changer for me because I'd had COVID about 5 times, and every time it was just like a mild cold, but it would then create a swing and an uplift in my long COVID symptoms. So every time that I had long COVID, I would be thinking, right, it will be a month and then I'll start to feel unwell again, which was the case. So I expected to see test results that showed I had poor immunity, and I was preparing life as a hermit, and actually my results came back as I had very strong immunity, which gave me the opportunity to look at my long COVID through a completely different lens, where I'm a little bit more autoimmune and lacking in immunity, and that in itself gives problems. But once you know what the problems are, you can start to look at solving them. Exactly. So for me, it was massive having those test results.
Yeah,
really good.
So from what I understand, so this test helped you identify that you have a hyperimmune response?
Yeah, so it's a state that I could be in permanently, but just knowing then there are options, that different routes I can go down, and it gives me more confidence going out, because before I was thinking, gosh, I keep getting COVID, I must have low immunity, so therefore I must avoid, big groups, enclosed spaces, all the things that you normally do, pubs, parties. So I was just, your world gets very small.
Yeah.
So now with knowing where my immunity stood, it means that you can, just be normal, which was nice. So yeah, you get a little bit of normality back in your life. And it also gave me the chance to make a considered decision about having vaccinations or not, which I think is quite important. When you're making a decision, there's been a lot of talk about the vaccinations for COVID, but actually I felt I was coming at it from a much more informed point of view. So that was really helpful as well.
That's really inspirational, actually. But yeah, so a hyperimmune response, actually, for anyone watching as well, actually represents 5% of the population of people we have actually tested here, when typically 65% of the patients that we've tested usually have a weakened immune response somewhere in their spectrum. It's actually quite interesting to see the diversity of what we can see within our long COVID tests as well. So just to wrap up everything here, was that a surprise for you when you received those results, or kind of did you expect?
Hugely surprised. I thought it would be low level of immunity, very poor quality. I just thought it would be, this is going to be like almost a flat line of results, like try harder, C minus. So yeah, it was a real surprise, and it really did. Within sort of a few days, I got my head around it, and then you can start looking at things differently, and then suddenly all your symptoms make sense, and your symptoms become your symptoms rather than just a random selection of things that everyone else seems to might have that could be long COVID. You can actually narrow it down, and then you can start addressing them. So it's a huge thing. So I was surprised and delighted with my results,
So then did this test ultimately influence your approach to managing the symptoms better that you've just described?
Yeah,
or I think you touched on it, and just expand a bit more.
100%. So it's just meant that I can look after my health better, just generally. So not even taking sort of what I call medication, but things like supplements, eating better, exercising appropriately, all of that has helped. And it's just put me in a better place, I think, mentally as well, that you're sort of back in control, and that's a big thing when you've got long COVID, that you don't have control over your life. Your life is very different than before you had COVID. So to feel that you're getting a little bit of normality back mentally is wonderful. So it's been really helpful.
That's wonderful. So today we actually are conducting a new blood test to compare your immunity profile from before to today. How do you feel about that comparison? Are you excited, a bit nervous maybe? Or?
I'm actually excited about it because the results were so high last time. I'd be surprised if they were higher. But it would be nice if they came down a bit, because then I would feel that I'm on track with managing things. But either way, I know I'll come out knowing a bit more, which means that I can fine-tune what I do a bit more. And with help from the team here, there's always been guidance about which direction I can look. So that is, a super position to be in compared to 12, 18 months ago, where, I was actually Googling to try and cure myself. So I feel like I'm sort of educated and supported now, and support's a massive thing.
Definitely.
So I'm excited about the results.
Striving towards performance as well. So in your opinion, how important do you think it is to have access to accurate diagnostic tools like Attomarker's long COVID tests, for example?
I'm sad in a way that if I'd have had this available 12 months ago at the GPs, for example, how different would that have been if I could have had this test then? So instead of waiting 12 months, going through the systems that you go through from the GP to the long COVID clinic, I could have had a test done at the GP surgery or at the long COVID clinic, and straight away trying to at least ease the symptoms, manage the problem, rather than just blindly, not have it, you just don't get the support. So to me I'd have loved to see this in every GP surgery, or at least in a specialised clinic that you have quick access to. It would make such a difference, I think, to people, just to know. And even if your results come out where you've got lower immunity, it's almost a validation that something's not right with you. That there is something amiss with your bloods or your systems. Things have got knocked out of sync by COVID. That in itself is really useful to know, because you do sometimes feel that you are losing your mind because you're not properly ill. It's not a thing. But actually having those blood test results, it's a bit like saying, yes, this is me, this is why I'm feeling the way I feel. So yes, I'd love to see it everywhere.
That's definitely something we're striving towards as well on that front. We're going through private clinics right now on a named patient basis, but I think hopefully it goes out to the community as well. And just again to conclude, is there anything else you'd like to share about your journey, or any lasting remarks, or perhaps anything?
No, I think for me, and everyone is different, but for me, having the knowledge, you don't have to be a doctor to understand the results. You can see where you're at. You've got a set of results that helps explain where you're at.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such a big thing, and it then means that you're targeting how you deal with each symptom much more effectively. And the whole thing is, you want to feel that you're being diagnosed and you're being treated, and if that's just a managed situation, that's fine, but it's something to be going on with, rather than just thinking, well, I'll just have to live with this then. So yeah, I think it's a test that should be available to everybody. Yeah, I can't emphasise that enough, because there isn't any help on the traditional routes. I don't think. That's my experience, that it's been a lonely journey, and I think the expression I used when I came here was that it was like I've been in the desert for like 12 months now, I've found the oasis, and now I can get on and start living again. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Well, thank you again for your time.
My pleasure.
Sharing your experience living with long COVID, I think is truly inspirational on that front as well. But